Welcome to Outside View Scandals, where we uncover the dark and twisted stories history would rather forget. Today we're talking about the fall of the Knights Templar, an order that went from being revered warriors to condemned heretics almost overnight. The date is October 13th in 1307, a Friday, no less, giving rise to one of the most famous superstitions in history, Friday the 13th. King Philip IV of France, also known as Philip the Fair, not for his fairness but perhaps for his light complexion, decides to make his move. So what does he do? He orders the arrest of hundreds of Knights Templar, accusing them of all sorts of nasty things like heresy, but also corruption and even devil worship. You know, the usual medieval list of crimes when you're trying to ruin someone's reputation. Now let's be clear, the real reason for this wasn't that the Templars were guilty of anything. Far from it. Philip's kingdom was in debt, and the Templars, being the wealthy, well-organized and financially savvy group that they were, had loaned him a large sum of money. In other words, Philip owed them big time. And like any good ruler in a financial bind, instead of paying his debts, he found a more convenient solution. Why not just eliminate the creditor? Problem solved, right? The charges against the Templars were outrageous. They were accused of spitting on the cross, worshipping idols, and committing unspeakable acts during their secret initiation ceremonies. And where did all this evidence come from? Well, most of it was obtained under torture, which, as we all know, leads to the most reliable confessions. It's amazing that people will admit to when their lives are on the line. And the Templars, who had once been the Church's go-to military order for protecting pilgrims and fighting in the Crusades, suddenly found themselves the enemy. Now, you'd think the Pope would step in here and defend his loyal knights. But nope. Pope Clement V, who was more or less a puppet of Philip, went along with the whole thing. Philip pressured him into issuing a papal bull, allowing the arrests to happen across Europe. And it's worth noting that Philip didn't just stop with the arrests. Nope, that would be too simple. He also seized the Templars' wealth, what was left of it after years of lending to the crown, and confiscated their lands. So, in the end, this wasn't just about religious piety or justice. It was about good old-fashioned greed. As the trials dragged on, many Templars were tortured into confessing to crimes they didn't commit. Those who refused to confess were executed. And their Grandmaster, Jacques de Molay, after 7 years of imprisonment, was finally burned at the stake in 1314. Before his death, de Molay famously recanted his confession and, according to legend, cursed both King Philip and Pope Clement. In a twist of fate, both Philip and the Pope died within the same year. Coincidence? Perhaps. But in medieval times, people saw that as divine retribution. Now let's pause for a moment and imagine this. An entire religious order brought to its knees, not because they were guilty, but because they were convenient scapegoats for a king's financial woes. And we thought modern scandals were bad. The fall of the Templars wasn't just the end of a military order. It was a turning point in history, a moment when power politics, greed, and religion all collided with devastating consequences. While the Templars as an order were dissolved, their mystique lived on, their treasure, their supposed secret knowledge. These would fuel legends, but also conspiracy theories and stories for centuries to come. And Philip? Well, he got what he wanted in the short term. He erased his debt and eliminated a potential political threat. But his legacy? Forever tainted by one of the biggest betrayals in history. So next time you hear about the Templars in popular culture, remember, their real scandal wasn't what they were accused of. It was how they were taken down by a king who wanted to erase his debts, literally and figuratively. And if that doesn't scream scandal, I don't know what does. And if you want to see another video right now, the next one is right here in the end screen.